Here we are, back up live again. And we're going to go like that. And we're going to swing it around. I told Nikki I'd go live, so here we are. Nikki was wondering. All right, let's bring you up here. See what's up. Just shipped out some more tool blanks today. I assume the pre-drilling is going to get done within this week. Shouldn't be long after that. We'll have tools in stock. I did release a video earlier on, should be the finish up for the 181. Hey, Brandon. PJ time, yeah. Crappy shirt. Slow night. Yeah, slow night here too. I forget what else. What did I have going on? I don't know. Oh, check it out. The saw's not leaking anymore. Ah. Andy Mullen, how's it going? Let's get Brandon, James, Dennis, Andy. Who else is here? Yeah, this I ground. I'm wondering if I should hand file it just a touch. There's really not a whole lot going here today, so you know. If you guys have anything cool to talk about, then let me know, because I'm up for that. You know what I did pick up? I did pick up a brand new 394 carburetor on eBay. I found that. It was like $20 plus shipping or something like that. I don't know how I found it, but brand new WJ71 popped up. So I'm like, oh shoot, for $20, you gotta get on top of that sort of stuff. I just got an email from Brandon wondering if I'm going live tonight. The answer is yes. Yes. So, if anybody has anything interesting, let's hear it. Because what else did I do? I have a potential surprise coming for the 394 stuff. But that's weeks away. But yeah. Pentecost. Do you center up your crankshafts? It depends. Most of the 372s and 394s are automatically centered. I don't have to worry about it for those. Basically the one saw that I have to center the crankshaft on are the Chinese 660s. So otherwise it ends up, a little off center. Does it really matter? Probably not, but with that there is some play side to side between the bearings. On the 372s, all I do is pull the crankshaft all the way to the PTO side, and then wherever it lands on the flywheel side, I mean, it just automatically centers itself. Then they're pretty centered, and the 394s as well. A little sniffly. I might just do a few swipes on this chain, because I did grind it, but we can round it just a little bit. So does that answer the question? Hey, PA. PA Dan, what's going on? Hopefully you're out cutting. Well, we got snow coming in here. Is snow out there in Pennsylvania? Probably, right? We're just here hanging out tonight, Dan. I got work tomorrow. Just stupidly busy. that gives a little more hook angle after I ground it. Hang in here, EPH. You've been asking me 12 to 18. Yeah, good. I've heard a foot. I've heard 4 to 8. I've heard all kinds of numbers. Who knows? Oh, yeah. Of course, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I don't even know if I'm going to do any cutting before spring. Same snow coming in Oklahoma. Right, so you guys are getting it in Oklahoma tomorrow morning. We're getting it Saturday night into Sunday morning, I think. Yeah, now it's a little more hook angle. Nice. Communication good to go. Iliovi, how's it going? Basically, you guys are setting the agenda tonight, so whatever you got going, we can talk about. Other than James's pain meds, you know. And we can't talk about the nurses either, right, James? No. Okay. Yeah, 5 strokes is doing it. That's pretty good. James has been on pain meds for too long. That's the problem. Healing is very frustrating. It takes so much time. And it can seem hopeless at times, which is really tough to deal with. Oh, I wanted to. I don't know what's been going on with the buffering and whatnot. For whatever reason, we get like half an hour into the video and it just starts buffering. So I don't know what's going on with the connections or whatnot, but sorry about that, guys. I don't know. I really don't know what's going on. But I was going to get into talking about. Yeah, I was going to get into talking about because I was on the topic of Christmas presents. Somebody had mentioned that the holidays wreck them financially. And I hear that a lot. This is Matt on his soapbox. If anybody want to tune me out now, it's fine. But I hear it a lot. Like the holidays just wreck people, and to me that doesn't make any sense because I guess I have a different view on Christmas presents. Christmas presents are what you do when you have a little bit extra money left over from doing everything else. I know that there are plenty of people that will save up all year long to buy Christmas presents. Plenty of people live for this. Businesses live for that. Their businesses are live and die by Christmas presents. I I disagree with that in the sense that I don't like having to go out and buy Christmas presents for the sake of buying Christmas presents, and I don't like it when it financially wrecks people. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Um, I understand sacrificial giving, and I think sacrificial giving Christmas are different things. Um, I don't think you see what I'm saying. See what I'm saying? Uh, so I feel for guys that are, I understand people that go out and just spend their last dollar to get all the kids in the family Christmas presents, and they have to get a present for everybody. I just disagree with it. So anybody that's financially rich for Christmas, I'm sorry. I have a fundamental disagreement with that. So anybody wants to comment on that, they're welcome to. Um, yeah, that's just how I feel about it. And I was trying to explain that the other night, and we got to buffering, and anyway. So that's my little soapbox for the night. I got done with the chainsaw carving a couple of days ago. What were you doing? What were you carving, Brandon? There was one of the parables in the Bible about the lady that gave like two mites or whatever, which the last amount of money that she had. That's sacrificial giving, and you got the rich people that come in and plunk a bunch of gold coins in the thing. Who gave more? Well, the answer is percentage wise, the lady that gave two mites gave more of herself because she gave it from her heart. And when Christmas presents become, does that make sense? I know it's tough. It's an odd issue to deal with, and when I hear of people that are, you know, they're broke January 1st because they spent everything on Christmas, I feel bad about that, but I disagree with it. So, Bama Bob carving a cross. Are you carving a cross for somebody, Brandon? Is this a commissioned thing? Are you doing it for fun? What's the deal? For fun. Okay. That's biting a lot more. Yep. Hey, Gavin. Oh, this is just the as is 372. Nothing exciting. I'm just doing some sharpening because you guys are setting the agenda tonight. I don't have anything in particular for you guys. But Nikki wanted me to come on, so he had mentioned it earlier. So here I am. I did post a video earlier today of the 181 finish up. So I've been wanting to finish that video for a while. I probably have some other stuff, in the computer. It's just a matter of spending a few hours editing the videos. I don't remember what. And I got to get up and go to work tomorrow. Good. Finally, the 181 rate. Yeah, good point, Barry. Matt D gotten lucky because it's still cutting. Just heard of doing this 440. Yeah, the 440. The 440. I tried the whole centering thing, but I had a lot of trouble with the Chinese 440 anyway because, well, I put the whole thing together and the E clip wouldn't go on to hold the clutch drum on. It was like the crank was too short. So even though I pulled it all the way through as far as I could, the crank was still too short. And as it turned out, the bearing that came with those cases was too thick. The inner race was literally too thick by 1 millimeter. It was thicker by 1 millimeter than the stock bearing for whatever reason, than the OEM bearing. So the cross bearings are also a correct spec. For whatever reason, what was in the saw was not the correct spec. It was a difference between 9 or 10 millimeters thick. Weird. So anyway, that 1 extra millimeter made the difference for getting that that click on, you know. The 181, well, it's a 288 top end. So what is that, 54 millimeter? I guess that's like 288 would be 88 cc's. It's nearly 90 cc's. And it's the same crank, incidentally. The 288 crank, I believe, is the same as 394. The same crank. Yeah, but the 394 goes to 56 millimeter top end. Dan, ever work with a 2172? I picked up a well-used 2166 speed diamond. It soon runs but needs it. It's essentially a 372, Dan. Or a 365, but it's effectively the same thing. I'm going to go to work tomorrow. I'll be fine going to work tomorrow. It's not going to snow until like late tomorrow night, early Sunday morning, so I'll be good. So the motor inside there, Dan, is the 365 or 372. Yeah, the 181 is quite the tight package. It really is not a whole lot heavier than a 372, but it's basically 90 cc's for all intents and purposes. It really is quite the stout package. Very nice. Yeah, it's okay. So, Dan, this is the newer edition one. What year was it made, Dan? Of course, Husky 372s that are made after that are 2010 and after are the X-Torques. The Johnson Reds may or may not follow that. So, 2011. Technically, it should be an X-Torque. If it has transfer covers, then it's an X-Torque. So a 2160. The only difference between the X-Torque 365 and 372 is the transfer covers, and you can literally grind out the transfer covers and turn a 2166 into a 2171, or essentially a 372. Yeah, so just grind out the dividers in the caps. You know, when you get the right file, these Oregon chains just cut like butter. Beautiful. You can feel it, like perfect. And then you get a hard one. What the heck? There we go. That one one cut like butter. That one was a little hard. That's better. All I'm trying to do is get a little more hook angle on here than the grinder left. There. It gets hard and this gums. Paul Borden, how's it going? Full wrap handle for a 266 SE. No, I don't. It's like a Steel 026, which is 50cc and a smaller saw. Better filter on the 550 Mark II. Yeah, and they probably don't have the hot start issues. I guess the new 550s probably don't have the hot start issues that the old ones were having, right? Square file that thing. No. Did you guys see the 500 on the 500C? I know I did not. I'm sure the Steel 500 is pretty cool, but not my cup of tea. It would be unlikely that in my lifetime I would need to own such a thing. Unless they make these things illegal, of course. You know, so much so where the cops show up and confiscate them. But I don't think that's going to happen. Oh, just so everybody knows, HL Supply now has the 36-inch Sujihara bars in stock. I ordered one. Just for the hell of it, of course. Almost done here. New crank and rod. They fixed the hot start issue. Fuel injected. Waiting for the new 5 to drop the money now. Yes, I do like the 394 of the Sujihara. I do very much. Mark II is supposed to be a near complete new saw. Really? Yeah, so this will keep getting better as I keep going. It's not awesome, but this one's not dug deep enough here. The bars lightens new rivet pattern. So does anybody want to buy my 394s? Anybody? Nobody wants to buy them. That thing is like a needle. Yikes. Ooh. Still 500i, no interest. Yeah, it doesn't. I'm sure it's cool, and there are people that probably love them and are gonna really have a good time with them. I have a dozen chainsaws now. I don't need to, you know, have a raffle. I could. Actually, the real trick is to get James on his meds, and then we can certainly, get you to pony up more money for it, right? The aluminum tape trick on the hot start. Right, so you want to keep the heat out of the carburetor, essentially, right? That's what's going on. I don't know. I guess I could do a raffle, but see who throws in $50. Well, Bob, let me know. I've got a couple of 394s here. Um, the one, this one is still not done. If I needed to, I could finish it by tearing apart another one of my saws. That's not that big of a deal. Um, but I figured that I'd, you know, get these off and running for somebody, and then I can focus on other things. Barry, the 395, $5 a ticket, you make more money. Maybe, maybe. The 395 is a different saw, at least in some senses. It feels different. The 395 definitely feels more smooth than a 394. The 394 just it feels more aggressive. It feels like it just wants to tear trees down instead of like Cadillac them down. 300-acre job. Shoot. I gotta say though, Bob, I don't know if as good as my saws are, I don't know if putting them to work on a 3,800 job would be the thing. If you're restarting a logging business, I would think that going and buying a new saw with a warranty would be the ticket. Here goes, chainsaws are scary. Well, when they're this sharp, they're scary. Yeah. The Husky 55 is a good saw for lots of people, Paul, but it doesn't work. It wouldn't work for me. Um, Plenty of people do really well with the 55s, but on that chassis, at least in my opinion, I would say you want to maximize the chassis. And the 55 has like an odd intake setup and whatnot. It's a whole lot better if you're going to have that size of chassis. The optimal motor to put on it is actually a 262 XP. And so if you're going to have that size of chassis, then you want the 262 XP top end on it. like I said, you guys are setting the agenda. For those that didn't hear, the tools, um, I literally just shipped some blanks down to my machinist on the shoreline. I didn't have time to drive them down. So I just shipped the blanks down. So he's got like 400 blanks down there. They'll get them CNC'd, and then once they're pre-drilled via CNC, then they'll just hand tap them basically on the Bridgeport, and I'll have good stock here going forward. Yeah, Barry, the intake is what a lot of people hate on the 55, so not my cup of tea. HL Supply has 660 kits for 200 bucks shipped. Shoot, if you can get the 660 kits, you know, it really starts to be a head scratcher as to why you don't do it. I think for the money they're quite a good bang for a buck. I do think that you need to do some stuff to them, um, but once you do, it's really good bang for buck. And I just got a Samura 28-inch bar for my 660. Um, I needed to set it apart from the Huskies a little bit. Sujihara is for all the Huskies. Um, but I got a Samura 28 for the 660 that I have, and I have yet to try it, but it looks like it's going to be great. What are you doing with the 181? The 181 is not mine. That was one of the guys on the forums, and he actually doesn't post that much. He never really did. He went. He's definitely not on there now, at least not actively. But he lives only half an hour away from me, and he bought that 181 for something stupidly cheap. He paid something like $30 for the thing, and because it was sitting in, if I remember, sitting in the back room in a firehouse or something like that. And it came with a sweet bar. Like the bar was worth more than the more than $30 easily. And he was having trouble with it running. It wasn't running quite right. So he handed it to me and said, here, have a look. So I put a carburetor kit in it. I put a new fuel line in it. And like 4 tanks later, the motor blew up. Motor seized. So I'm like, what do I do here? And he's like, just, make it the best it can be. And I'm like, okay. So I put the 288 top end on it, ended up having to put a new carburetor on the thing because it's still, I kitted the carburetor a second time. It still wouldn't idle quite right. It was having this dual idle thing. You would get it adjusted and then it would go way low and go way high. And it almost acted like it had an air leak, but I kept testing it for air leaks and there was no air leak. So I swapped out the carburetor. I ended up putting a 288 carburetor in it. And I had to change not the throttle plate, but the throttle shaft on it because the throttle shaft on the old carburetor was for the linkage, the throttle linkage, as opposed to the roller throttle. The other way to do it is to change out this part, which is actually that and the throttle kind of all in one. But anyway, if you change out that part in the 181 to the 288 part, then you can use a roller throttled carburetor. Anyway, I kept the original linkage, but I just swapped for the old throttle shaft, and it runs like a beast. It's crazy. He loves it. Are the Samuras as good as the Sujis? I don't know, but they look cool. Um, I think the Sujihara tips are a little better than the Samuras, but I'm never going to wear one out. Not with what I do. It's just not. It's not going to happen. So the Samuras are slightly less expensive with probably as good of steel, and they might be slightly lighter than the Tsujis. So either way, what are your thoughts on cross? Sumer is good. Brandon, what are your thoughts on the cross preference bar and chain? You mean the cross brand bars and the chains? Um, I spent the whole night looking at bars. Matt gives us a rundown on bars. What's good and bad? First, like, yes, tillets and carb. Yes, tillets and carb. Okay, so the reason that I've basically switched everything over to Sujihara's is because HL Supply was carrying them. So part of me dealing with HL Supply is I'm buying the high end bars that they have. Are they better than the Sumuras? I don't know. I haven't really used them um, that much. I like the Sujiharas because of the quality of the steel. The tips appear to be pretty good, but have I used them enough to compare and say one is better than the other? No, I haven't. So I think the Samuras are slightly less expensive than the Sujiharas, and if you want to get the Samuras, you have to talk to Nate at Performance Outdoor, and he's in Newcomerstown, Ohio. So I'm not a bar and chain expert. I do like my Oregon chain. The steel chain is probably holds an edge a little bit like the steel RS chain probably holds an edge a little bit better, but it's also a little harder to sharpen than the Oregons. So you pick what you prefer, you know. Am I still on the OPE forum? I still read the forum, but I don't post there. I'll post in private messages, but I'm not posting there. No. For those people that don't know of that controversy, they can go back and watch my video that is entitled, As Is. They can go watch that video, which was done right on about a year ago now. I think it was in February uh, 2018, almost a year ago. Because there was that controversy, and I am still not posting. So yeah, for those that weren't familiar, you can go watch the video. But the quick summary on it was that I was called a name publicly, and it was actually um, had this it was this saw that was involved. Oddly enough, I'm holding it here tonight, but this is what I call the as is saw, and boy, is it really good. But at least now it is. But I got called a very nasty name publicly online, and I never got an apology for it. So as far as I'm concerned, until either I get an apology or the guy that called me the name gets punished, I'm no longer posting there. Hey Kev, how's it going? Laser chain is all right. Yeah, the laser. I remember my dad having some of laser chain because it was from laser sales, and it was like some uncle or whatever that was able to get him a deal there or whatever. So I guess laser chain was okay. I don't know who it's produced by today or whatever. Can you probably use it? Probably. Mastermind needs to get off his high horse. No, it's not. It's not really Mastermind's problem. He runs the forum. The overall issue is that he is really tight with the guy that called me the name. So he's not about to ban him. Not about to do that. So could he? Yeah, but I don't necessarily expect him to. Um, so I'm not holding against. I'm not going to hold it against Mastermind for not doing that. Uh, he didn't. He wasn't the one with the inciting offense. Still, if he was ever, and I proposed ways of resolving this, but they're basically not interested. So they think that overall that I need to get over it and just start posting again. And that would be me going against my word. And since I wouldn't expect anybody else to go against their word, I'm not going to either. So very simply, I'll either accept at this point a public apology from the guy that did it, which isn't happening, or or ban him. Ban him for a month, something, some level of punishment for calling me something that was completely inappropriate. Thanks, Barry. I appreciate the vote of support and confidence. See, I think because I think it's an important debate. I really think this is an important debate because they essentially, if you go and read, there's a post in the Trading Post in Mastermind posted and it had to do with standing behind your product. Um, on the surface, the post looks really good, but I will disagree with it and say it's not about standing behind your product. It's about standing behind your contract. So, um, I believe that we as Americans, at least here in the United States, we are allowed to contract with other people. Um, it's when the terms of the contract are broken that you have an argument. So I think that you can contract whatever you want. So literally, I'm allowed to sell you, you know, here's a used tub of grease. I'll sell this to you for $1,500. If you're dumb enough to buy it, as is, it's got crap in it, whatever, I'll sell this to you for $1,500. If you're dumb enough to buy it, you get it and be like, yeah, that's what great. If you get it and be like, oh, it was supposed to be red, not green, or whatever, then it's actually, now you're violating the terms of the contract because it's not as described, right? So anyway, I believe that I have the right to contract with anybody for effectively anything. If we agree on something and I deliver what we agreed on, then I'm in the right. If I don't deliver what we agreed on, then I think the forum is ideally suited to enforcing the contract. I think that's what the forum is ideally suited to enforcing the contract, not to enforcing. You have to be above and beyond, or whatever it was. Made up. I have to make good on whatever. No, the forum. It needs to apply pressure on whoever, effectively the seller is, to make good on the contract. And actually, there was a post. Somebody, I was reading it. Somebody posted somewhere. It was in the off-topic forum, and it was about some damage to a rental car, and the guy owes the dealership $500, and the guy's just been paying like $50 a month because he can or whatever, and that's not right. He never negotiated to that. They said you owe this, and he's just created an installment plan for himself rather than going down there and paying the $500 or whatever it is. If there's an argument, you pay the $500 first, and then you go back and you sue them for the $500 if you really want to argue it, and that way you're not in trouble because the money is there. But you can go and sue them and argue about it. Anyway, there were plenty of guys on the forum that actually called him out on it and said, dude, what's the problem? Go down there and pay them the $500. You owe it to them. It was your mistake. Go down and pay them. I don't understand why you created an installment plan, you know? Okay, we have Joseph Shaker and Eric Boyce. Hi, guys. Uh, so Joseph and Eric, and I will get to you in just a second. Thank you for coming. Um, right. Well, Barry, yeah, I don't exactly know what the argument was over because apparently if I built something, I'm not allowed to sell it then as a project saw, or if I built it, then I have to stand behind it. I wasn't understanding, and where the problem came in was I was actually selling this even though it was complete. I just put it together. I was selling it as a project saw, and I was selling it at a discount. I wasn't quote unquote charging extra for testing. I was trying to explain that to people, and I was having a hard time because I wasn't at my computer at that time, and my tact wasn't good. But somebody was like, "Well, I don't understand why you would charge for testing." Well, if you have a saw that's tested, you got a couple of tanks run through it, it's probably worth more than a saw that was just slapped together. And I was selling this as a saw that was literally just slapped together. It was in the dead of winter, and I just wanted to flip it for some quick bucks. I needed the money. And apparently, I'm not allowed to do that, which makes no sense at all because anywhere else in the country, I'm allowed to contract for whatever I'm allowed to contract for. I can sell this as an as is piece as a project saw. You know, that's the terms of the contract. If somebody hands me $400 and accepts it as an as is piece, then they don't get to come back to me and say you did X. No, this is not a matter of me standing behind my work. It's a matter of the terms of the contract. And Mastermind and John 1212 disagreed with that. So they have a fundamental disagreement, and that's fine. It's their forum. We can disagree on that, and I'm a big boy. I don't have to sell my stuff on their forum. If I disagree with how they, the format of what they want to sell, then I have a disagreement with them, and then I don't sell on the forum. That's fine. But I also don't think it's right for somebody to call me a shady, you get the idea, publicly, and then there to be no consequences, especially when I've never screwed anybody. So, anyway, that was the debate, and I don't know why there's still 14 people here listening to me, but thank you just the same. Okay. And Bob, you're right. I'm not trying to be super chainsaw guy. I'm just a guy that's putting together a few saws, and we're kind of coming to the end of this, at least for now. Joseph Shaker, just real quick. I have a 350 you want to big bore at highway or other. The simplest way, Joseph, is to get the OEM 346 XP top end, the 44.3 millimeter one. You can get the OEM top end from HL Supply. It's like $110. The highway top end, which is 45 millimeter, for 346 XP replacement, is good too. It's kind of up to you what you want to do. If the money's the same, you probably want to get the OEM. If the money's a little better on the highway, then depends on what you want to do with it. I have a good video series on all the different cylinder heads. It's way back in my videos somewhere, but I do compare a bunch of the heads that would be compatible with your 350. So a lot of them run pretty good. Even the original 350 top end runs really good. So, put a flat top piston in that thing, muffler mod it, away you go. Eric Boyce, how's it going, Eric? Any questions? If you're new around here, welcome. I don't like how Barry said. I'm saying you're trying to rip off. You're right, Joseph. Thank you. You're welcome, Barry. It's not really sore, but I think it's important. It's not even a sore subject. I think it's an important subject to understand the terms of a contract. And I think that, you know, I think this is a sore subject around the country because this is happening in a lot of colleges right now. A lot of kids are signing on the dotted line for all kinds of loans that they don't know whether they'll be able to pay them back or not. Which is all kinds of silly because, a lot of these kids do their homework. I was the guy that I did my homework, and I went and I dutifully did my homework. The one homework that a lot of kids don't do is figure out whether they can pay their loans back or not, and whether or not they are signing on the dotted line in an efficient manner. Um, so this is a very sore subject around the country right now, and it has to do with contracts, contracts. Know your contract, stick to it. Don't be like Darth Vader. I'm altering the contract. Pray I don't alter it any further. No good. Right, right. They're lost. Yeah, Bob. I know. Uh, Thanks. Joseph, where I'm from, sell parts, no warranty, expressed or implied. That's right. You should be able to sell something like that because you can contract with whatever you want to do, right? And as long as you adhere to the terms of the contract, both parties agree to it. Both parties agree to it. Shake hands and be done. Bob, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. What's the best aftermarket for steel and husky? Um, the steels are funny with those. I'm not super privy to all the aftermarket stuff. If I have a choice between Farmer Tech or Highway, I'll pick Highway. But I've had some Highway stuff that's weird, and some of the Farmer Tech stuff on these 660s actually works pretty good. But with the steel stuff, there's more likelihood for weirdness, like with free porting and whatnot. With Husky, there's less of that. There's actually more margin for error, and you can fiddle with the Husky cylinders a little bit more. So with the Huskies, I don't mind doing highway. I've got a lot of highway cylinders on my saws, and they run really good. But everything's ported. Everything's ported. So whatever you're doing, if you're doing aftermarket, it's ported. If you want to slap something on and go, you probably get better off getting OEM. Contracts, it's in the details. It's also protects us and spelled out when we read on it. It's not the contract. Do it my way. If you want a special way, then yeah, spell it out. It's a contract. Yeah, and eBay's take on it is that if it's not in the contract, then they have to protect the buyer. That's why they talk about buyer protection, not seller protection. eBay has to protect the buyers. And so if there's any weirdness in the contract, then the default is to side with the buyer rather than the seller. Kind of the get out of jail free card effectively is selling something as is. And this is where Mastermind and John 1212 disagreed, and they said it's not a get out of jail free card for being stupid. And that wasn't the word they used, it was stronger. But anyway, it's not a get out of jail free card for being stupid. And I'm like, actually, it is. Um, the buyer on an as is item accepts the item with all faults, whether obvious or not. Okay, you buy a horse with all faults. If the horse has gastritis and you didn't know, too friggin' bad. You're the one that bought it like that. No warranty expressed or implied. So this is where eBay's right. They have to sell with the buyer when the contract is fudgy. eBay has to protect the buyer. They have no choice, because if there are buyers, there will always be sellers. You can have lots of sellers and no buyers, and you don't have anything. But if you got people lining up to hand money somewhere, there's going to be sellers. So they have to protect the buyers. That's understandable. But in an as-is situation, as far as I'm concerned, the forum gets to tell the buyer to take a hike if the buyer comes back around to me and says, hey, you got to fix this. No, I don't got to fix it. Did I see Walters 2171? I started watching the video and I didn't get the chance to finish it. I want a toilet. Okay, I give you one. No, I want a gold toilet. Didn't read gold anywhere in the contract. Gold toilet, you can spell it out. Period. Yeah. If you sold it as a part saw, what's more to be said? That's right. You're right, guys. So as it turned out, the reason that the backlash on me was because I had this saw up for sale and I went to test it out and it blew up like within half a tank. And somebody asked, would that be on the buyer? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Of course it would be on the buyer. And they disagreed with that. I'm like, well, first off, nobody bought the saw, number one. Number two, the implication is there that I'm going to screw somebody, and which isn't the case if you sell something as is. And I was selling it as a project saw, not complete. It's complete as far as parts go, but it needs to be properly tested before it can be considered a, those would have been the terms of the contract to any prospective buyer. It was 10 degrees outside, so I wasn't, trying it myself. I finally got to, and it was a 10-degree day. But what happened was the clutch was wrong. On the 372s, the clutch actually holds in a bushing which helps seal the PTO side bearing. And the clutch was actually the wrong clutch. I was using instead of a 372 clutch, I had a 576 clutch on here, and they are virtually identical with one exception. The one exception is that the 576 clutch has a slightly bigger thread on the crank. The 576 clutch threads on just fine, but it doesn't hold. It goes and tightens, but it loosens too easily. And so as it loosens, that bushing comes out and you get a seal, you get a vacuum leak. And as soon as I threaded a 372 clutch on here, it held, the vac leak went right away, and it was fine. Somehow, I couldn't tell. Somehow that clutch got into my parts pile. It looked visibly the same. I put it on there. It tightened up good enough. How was I supposed to know? But the aggressiveness came at me with the question was, would that have been on the buyer? And the answer is absolutely. Now, I did sell it as a 372. If the buyer found out that I put the wrong clutch on, I would certainly have provided that. But the fact that the thing blew up, no, that would not have been on me. Now, since the saw has been tested, guess what? The price went up. It was like 200 pounds of compression. Anyway. Somebody was going to get this for $400 plus shipping, Anyway, they just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's late. I got to go to bed. And I'll say thank you to everybody. Thanks so much for the votes of confidence. I do really appreciate it. I do appreciate everybody being here and asking questions. And I hope that the answers I'm giving are good enough. If anybody wants the 394, let me know. Just email me. You guys do me a huge favor if you go to HL Supply through my link, which is actually if you look in my 181 video that I just posted, my HL Supply link is in there, and if you just click on that, all you got to do is go and click on that. Then I actually get credit for what you buy, like within a month. So, yeah, hopefully no snow. Hopefully I won't be driving in the snow. I'm only coming home tomorrow at like 1 o'clock, so I'm not going to come home in the snow tomorrow. I'll have all of Sunday to clear off the snow off the driveway, so I'll be good. How did HL Supply get all the OEM and Husky stuff? They're a Husky dealer. They became a Husky dealer, so they do aftermarket parts and Husky parts. Went to HL Supply, but bugger. Sorry, buddy. So anyway, email me. Obviously, all the ampersands. Get rid of all the ampersands except one. Will it be live tomorrow? I don't know. Yeah, if you get the Highway 45 millimeter, you want the 45 millimeter 346 XP kit, closed port, quad port. That's what I have on my 350s, and they're stout. But I do recommend porting it and adjusting the squish and all that other stuff. So, anything else, guys? Otherwise, I'm going to bed. Edwin, good seeing you, buddy. We're missing Larry and Ken. I don't know what happened to those guys. Anyway, thanks so much. Everybody have a great night. Be safe in the weather coming. I know everybody's got weather coming. So, take care, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you soon, okay?